everyone's talks. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to announce who's in the hole, and if that person could come up to the side stage to get ready so we can progress the next talk pretty quick. Speakers are going to have 5 minutes, which would be really fun. We also have one spot open, so if anyone would like to do a lightning talk still, come and see me and we'll get you in at the end. So first up, we have Sam, who's going to be giving a talk on Tracker is Dead, and if Nori could come up. Well, if you go over time, we'll bring out the hook and pull you off. Yeah.
Okay. I'm almost excited to see the hook. All right. Okay. Let's go. So here's a mail from the Tracker list from 2006, in which they outlined the remaining work to be done, a GUI, some tests, finish the interface, and so on. And I'm not going to tell the whole story of Tracker here, but 18 years have passed since then. Nokia got involved, got uninvolved. For the last 10 years, Tracker has been developed mainly by Carlos Garnacho, represented here by this cat who he refers to as the bane of his inner peace, and to a smaller extent by myself. And after many, many years of work, we are proud to announce that the project is completely dead. But I would also like to announce 2 new projects in the search space, which may look fairly similar. And in fact, I can announce they're completely API compatible, but 2 totally new projects. The first one is called Tiny SparkQL. It's a database library built on top of SQLite. Has very good code coverage. It only has 84 bugs. In fact, some of those are to-dos, so it has even less. Completely standards compliant. And what do you get on top of basic SQLite? Well, it's slightly slower, but also you get much better ways of documenting your schemas. And you can federate queries between different databases. So this is really cool. You can have one database that queries another as part of a query. Support for sandboxing via Flatpak. And even better, 2 of our interns are building a web IDE, because it's not really fun writing queries in the command line and not being able to test them, right? And so the idea is this will have built-in documentation, and you can run queries in the browser and have examples integrated and stuff. Yeah, if you've ever used the libtracker SparkQL library, it's very, very similar. In fact, the API is completely compatible. But you can also use the new API, and please call it by the new name, because it's very confusing when people say, let's store data in Tracker. You can't store data in a search engine. This is a database. It does nothing but store data, and it's great. The second project I'd like to announce is called Local Search. And it bears a little bit of similarity to the Tracker Minor FS, but I can guarantee you a completely new project. What does it do? It indexes files in your home directory, and it stores the index in your home directory. So we kind of chose the name around the time the Microsoft recall drama came out. We thought, how do we represent that all this does is creating an index? And the name Local Search hopefully makes it very clear what it's doing, unlike the name Tracker Minor, which doesn't make it very clear what it's doing. Apart from that, it's got a lot of work on sandboxing recently, so it's more secure than ever. Even if the dependencies have vulnerabilities, there's not a huge amount they can do. And what's coming next? I don't really know. No one's paying for search. No one's really investing in this. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's up to you. If people get involved, things will happen. If nobody gets involved, then we'll keep the projects ticking over. But what I came up here really to say is that search is everybody's problem, right? The project formerly known as Tracker was really a small part of GNOME's search experience. Search is exposed in the shell. The shell runs queries with all of these different core apps and more search providers as needed. The only one that actually is backed by local search is Nautilus. And that may change in future, but search is everybody's problem. That's what I came here to say, and I've said it. I've still got 1 minute left. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Do I need to plug the USB-C in as well?
No, it's just for power.
Oh yeah, it's fine. Oh dear.
Let's see.
That's just my background.
Okay. Do you just want the same thing on your screen to be shown
Yeah,
up there? Okay, so we're going to just hit Super P, which is the projection mode. So we can say mirror.
Oh, magic. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There.
Yeah, there we go.
Next up, we have Nori Blandford on the Linux High School experience, and after her will be Sriram.
Hi, I'm Nori. This is actually my second lightning talk. I was a bit shorter last time. I've graduated high school now, and I used Linux the entire time. I thought I would talk a little bit about how that was, because why not? Anyways, why I started using Linux. Easy answer, next question. Why I continued using Linux in high school is high school tech requirements aren't the most difficult. Everything's designed to be used on a Chromebook, and that's not a very high bar to pass. If you can run a browser, you can run most of high school stuff. Also, Linux is cool. Computer science classes. I took several computer science classes for obvious reasons. Intro to computer science, I didn't really run into anything there. Most of it was code.org. I hate code.org, which is nothing to do with code.org and everything to do with what I've done it 18 times by now. I ended up choosing a code studio at one point, and yes, my intro to computer science teacher did end up saying that my parents were nerds. My Java teacher, I loved her. We were doing AP Java, which meant we were doing AP tests, which meant actually a surprising amount of coding was written out on paper, which meant I did not run into any problems with Linux. But I also was supposed to end up doing like this BlueJ thing where I was supposed to turn in all my projects on that. That didn't happen. I downloaded it for nothing. We used Replit instead, which kept trying to tell me to buy more CPU space and RAM and also spend money on their cool new AI tech thing assistant, which was, I did not do that. Standardized tests, which were actually the one major problem and the bane of my existence, because you have to install secure browsers, and since they're standardized, they generally aren't supposed to work on Linux. For like California standardized testing, the CAFS test, I ended up having to spend a couple extra minutes trying to figure out how to get it on my computer, with a lot of help from my dad because I didn't know how to do that. But what was supposed to happen is there's like instructions for Windows and instructions for Mac, and if you're somehow confused by that, the IT guys come around and walk you through it. I was, I think, the delight of those IT guys' day. Because they're like, oh my God, this girl's using Linux. This is amazing. I'm like, thanks. Can I get this working, please? Anyways, there was also, specifically for my macroeconomics class, I don't know how this is related, but we took these tests on Lockdown Browser to make sure that you didn't cheat. It's this thing, it does this thing where, you know, it runs in the background to make sure you haven't opened any apps and you're not like Googling all the answers while taking tests online. That also doesn't work for Linux, and I actually looked it up. Technically you can get it to work on Linux, but you have to crack it, and that's not quite the point of a test software. So I ended up just borrowing a Chromebook, which was very slow, and I spent 5 minutes logging in. Yeah, anyways. Over the summer last year, I think it was last year, I took another class. There was another computer class, but that's not actually related this time. And for the finals for that, it also has to do like this Proctor software thing. But that just didn't work, and at that point, I wanted to pass the class, and I gave up, so I borrowed my little brother's Windows gaming laptop. Anyways, that's most of it. I also have this bonus slide, My good friend Soren thinks I'm a witch now. That's about it.
Sorry. Is Sri Ram here?
I have no slides. I may have forgotten what I'm talking about, too.
Shri is talking about enable telemetry on GNOME OS, and next up is EJ.
All right, here we go. Yes, I am going to talk about, first I'm going to talk about telemetry. Then I'm going to talk about what to do with it. So I think when I was watching the keynote on Friday, that whole thing about, and yes, stop turning off telemetry on Lightning. But what I wanted to talk about is, I think it's really important that we do have some form of telemetry to be able to know what is, how many users we may have. I mean, being able to measure our install base is an important part of influence, right? You would say, you represent this amount of people, and that lets you open doors. If I say I have 80 million people using my product or project, then people are going to listen to you because you have that much of an attention. So that is where I'm going with that. But I know a lot of us are very privacy aware, very security aware, and don't want to give those kinds of things. And to that, I would like to meet halfway. And we have this cool thing called GNOME OS. And it is, yes, that's right, raise your hands, GNOME OS. And its whole purpose, at least to me, is Q&Aing our desktop. It is, and testing and everything else. And this is a great place to turn on telemetry and try it out and see what we can do with it. Because I know in this case, people who download GNOME OS, they're doing it for a specific purpose. They're not trying to run as a general desktop or anything, but it can be used. Hey, we could find out how many times somebody clicked this button. I think that sort of really resonated with me. If you're a designer and you want to say, well, do people really click on this? Or can you test your designs? And if you have that kind of telemetry and you're able to do that, that's going to be pretty cool. So I think I would like to think that we could try to do that. And maybe I'll put an issue on GitLab and say, let's turn on telemetry. Let's see what's out there, right? So that's my TED Talk for today. It's very short, very sweet. I have one other thing, because on the note of telemetry, I have a card for Holly and out there. If you are so inclined, you would like to sign it and share your appreciation for the work she's done, you may do so back there. So that's all for me.
Is EJ here? Sounds good.
Oh crap, forgot something.
So I'm going to try to work through my paralyzing stage fright and debug an application. We'll see how that goes. I'm not used to being able to do that with people watching. Am I doing okay? Yeah. All right. Display. Join. Mirror. Apply. Keep settings. Keep changes. Wait. Join. All right, that doesn't work. So let's take this, throw it here, take this, and I'm gonna do it on the screen with you guys. All right, let's turn around. Okay, so I wrote an app, and I'm gonna submit this app to GNOME Circles very soon. And it does really, it's a counter, I don't know. I feel like we don't have these in our ecosystem, but oh crap, I pressed the button once and it crashed. Let me try that again. Oh yeah, it counts. Isn't that cool? Oh, something happened. Oh crap, okay. Something's happening with this app, have to figure it out. I can't look that way, I have to look at the screen. Okay, so what I would do, what you might do is open GDB, look at the stack trace, figure it out. Old me would have just printf'd the shit out of this until I figured out what was going on. But then I discovered RR. Nope, that's not it. I have, for this moment, I have my commands saved, so I don't have to think too much. So what I'm doing right now is I'm capturing it, okay? So, what I just did is I recorded the application running and it crashing in RR, and this is actually 90% of the work. Right now I could already go home. If I did this on a bug in Firefox at this point, I would know that, I could, after lunch, I could spend 20 minutes fixing the bug and that's it. So now what I do is I replay it. And it opens up GDB. And I load all the symbols, all right? And now I run it. Wait. See, this is why I don't do live demos. Wait, I recorded it. I'm replaying it. Replay. Let's just say no for a sec. Debug to make the setting permanent. Okay, oh, continue. I was doing run, you don't do that, you do continue, okay? You do run if you're in GDB. All right, so I ran it. I think I crashed at this point. Can anybody see this because it's on the wrong side of the, should we put it here? Is that better? All right, this might be the entire talk is me trying to run this. But you should come over and chat about RR or time traveling debugging if you have a minute. Okay, so now I'm running it. It's running all headless, and I reached a segmentation fault, which is the same thing. And I could see where it ran, and this is all familiar, right? That's the backtrace. I could see that in frame number 2, number 1, I have a print hello. That's from my app. That's number 9. I'm just going to go to that frame for a second. F1. And I could see that it's happening over here. When I'm casting GTK label, right, that whole thing is happening because I have G warnings fatal, and that's the data. So I'm going to take this data. I'm going to do a little bit of a shortcut here. I'm going to take that pointer, and I'm going to make a breakpoint. What's the GTK unmap signature? GTK widget unmap if widget equals that pointer, okay? So I'm making a breakpoint for it unmapping because my hypothesis is that this area was poisoned when this widget was destroyed, so I made a breakpoint. The problem is, of course, that this already happened in the past, right? Okay, so this is where the time traveling comes in. Reverse continue. What? Reverse continue? I'm going back in time, and I hit a breakpoint. So what happened over here? I could see that the widget got destroyed at this point. There's GTK unmap, unrealize, unparent, remove label. So I found in my code in frame 4 that I had some sort of callback that was called, and that widget was unparented, and then it got destroyed. So I traveled back in time and figured that out. Now, if I have one more minute, but if I had another 15 minutes, what I would do is I would talk about how the fact that this was called, this is happening obviously in some sort of callback that's running on the main loop. I could figure out where that function pointer was first put in, like was it an idle handler, like what made that happen? And I can of course travel in time back to previous loop iterations and find when that was originally added, and that's it.
All right, so next up is Till Campeter on Learn Snapping, and Georges and Phil are up next.
Yes. Hello? Yeah. You have the possibility now to learn snapping, and let us do a snap workshop. Not in these 5 minutes of a lightning talk, I'm not able to do that. But on this GUADEC, the BOF rooms are not fully used. There are a lot of free spaces. You see, on Monday we have even room 3, which is not used at all. And on Tuesday we have in every room a little bit where there's no BOF or workshop. And so I thought I want to ask you if you are interested in whether you would like to learn snapping, and I would do a spontaneous snap workshop if enough people would come up. And then we will together take one of these 3 times in one of the rooms and do this workshop. It would be something 90 minutes to 2 hours, and it's interactive. You will do exercises and so. And so, you know, you have perhaps attended my talk on the first day in the afternoon, where I've told what Snap is, and it's very useful, as you can do packages which are immutable, sandboxed, and will be in the Snap store. Very nice if you are an upstream developer, so that you can distribute your work easy download for you non-tech savvy users who do not know how to compile, or also if it's not in the user's distro, or also you can join the Snapcrafters team, which is a special project which snaps applications for which we do not have a snap because their upstream does not do it. So it's very useful. And if you are really interested, you need to come up to me. until tomorrow to lunch, so that we have still some time where we can put the workshop. And you can either come to me right after this talk on this conference, tomorrow on this conference, or you can simply send me an email or contact me on Telegram or on Matrix. And important is that once, if you come up to me in any form, also by email or Matrix or so, tell in which time slot in which time slots you have time, and also until tomorrow before lunch, so that we have still 1.5 days left to put the workshop. That's it.
Test. There you go. I wish we had soundtrack for this. Fantastic. I'm gonna spare you from my singing. You're all gonna be all right. There we go. All right.
Next up, we have Phil Chimento and Georges Stavrakis on time zone horror stories, and Jonathan's up next.
All right, GUADEC, I need you to look at me in my eyes. Stare my soul through my eyes. Are you doing that? I need you folks in the stream to do that as well. Are you all looking at me? All right. I'm going to ask you a few questions. You will answer, okay? How many hours are there in a day? Yes. All right, so we have time zones. That's an easy one, right? If the time zone moves, if you enter daylight saving time, got a 23-hour day, and if you would exit out of daylight saving time, you get a 25-hour day, right? So that means we have 23, 24, or 25-hour days, right? The Lord Howe Island in Australia has half an hour time daylight saving times. So for them, they have 23 hours and half, 30 minutes hour days. 24 hours and 24 hours and 30 minutes half days. All right. So maybe we shouldn't talk too much about hours. Let's talk about minutes, shall we? How many seconds are there in a minute? GUADEC. So let's talk about the leap second. Did you know that the rotation of the Earth is irregular and random and unpredictable? And we need to add random seconds in random years to account for that? Yeah, that happens. On Unix, we pretend that doesn't happen, the Unix timestamps. They simply pray that nothing bad happens. Does nothing bad happen? Things always happen, right? But I have good news for you folks. We're not going to have to deal with that anymore. As per 2035, this will be obsoleted because it has caused more bugs than it has shifted the time to the appropriate rotation of the Earth. All right. when does a day start? Well, that's kind of intuitive, right? If you live in a country that shifts the clock forward right at midnight, then your day is going to start at 1 a.m. GUADEC, how many times can a day start per day? So if you live in a country like I do that shifts the clock backwards, you reach midnight, your day starts, and then you're back at 11 p.m. And then you're going to have the day start again.
I'm going to talk a little bit about time zones too. If you divide the globe into 24 time zones, what do you think it looks like? Maybe like segments of an orange. It looks like this. Okay, so maybe the slices aren't equal, but surely there are 24 of these slices, one for each hour. You see here the 9.5-hour time zone and the 10.5-hour time zone. This is the Lord Howe Island over here that George has mentioned before. Almost 20% of the world's population lives in a time zone with a 30-minute boundary. India, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Iran, Myanmar, Marquesas Islands, several time zones in Australia, and one time zone in Canada. Surely all the boundaries are on a half hour. Plus 5 3/4. Nepal. It's also a time zone in Australia that does this. Surely all the boundaries are on 15 minutes. They don't exist anymore, but in the computing era, as recently as 1972, Liberia had a time zone offset of 44 minutes and 30 seconds. We're just going to leave you with this fun story. Pause the frame if you're watching the stream. Thank you.
Next up is Jonathan Blanford with Document Your Project, and after him is Richard.
Hello. All right. That's a really tough act to follow. So we'll see how this goes. So I'm here to convince you that you should focus more on documentation for your project. This is mostly based on my experiences writing GNOME crosswords, and a number of people told me this would be more generally interesting. And by documentation, I'm referring to developer docs. I don't mean API references or user documentation, though those are both important too. But I mean the internal documents as to how your application works. It's things like design docs, instructions and recipes, overviews and guides, and build instructions. And your target audience for these docs are maintainers, contributors, as well as potential future contributors. So I found that being disciplined about devel documentation has brought a ton of value to my project. First, it helps keep a consistent and maintainable code base, and having a written reference means you don't always have to figure things out from existing code or first principles. Second, it's really important to do a good design doc before writing a larger section of code. I've always been tempted to skip this step, and I've never regretted sitting down and writing something down before I start writing code. It often catches problems with a given approach early on, or really helps clarify what's important about an approach. You can share it with other folks and get them to review it. And then also, it's a lot easier to refactor prose and just refactor existing code. And then It's a useful historical record, and along the same way, it's a great way for new contributors to understand your code base. And the most important contributor to your project is future you. I constantly have to go back and read old docs to remind myself why we're doing something in a given way. Some best practices I found. First, be very deliberate and disciplined about your doc writing. I write a new design doc every time I hit a complex area. I know it's not as fun. It's a little bit like exercising or taking your vitamins, but in the end, your code will be a well-chiseled Adonis if it and hopefully works well. And then you'll collect a lot of docs in the long run if you do this right. I also require a design doc for any merge requests of any significant size. I've also been doing this for GSOC students as a starting point, and making them write down what they're trying to do before actually writing code has been extremely helpful for both them to make sure they understand the problem space and me to make sure I understand that they know what they're doing. When writing docs, I guess you could do whatever you want, but we use Markdown with a standard header, and we use every design doc I have has something like this on the top. Hopefully it's fairly self-explanatory, but the date is kind of crucial because you get to go back and see if a doc is, very quickly, if a doc is out of date, if it's fairly relevant, if it's been updated recently. And then also, if you add an author tag at the end, it's great for GSOC students to get credit for their work. It's good to put all your docs in one place. And we use a CI script to generate a doc landing page on the website. That's been incredibly helpful, just to have them available. It's a little bit of simple code. You can look at what you did, but just anything that'll generate HTML is probably sufficient. And this is what it could or does look like. I'll give a very quick demo. If I can put my mouse over here and scroll to the top. So this is what our devel doc page looks like. We start with some overviews. We've got a coding style section. This is what the heart of the page looks like. This is all the design docs we've written over the years. And a lot of these are fairly complex areas of code. These can be very long documents. As an example, this is a very hard part of the code base to understand. We also have some very simple ones too, right? So docs don't have to be complicated. They can just be a reference like this, but just writing something down is very useful. And this is a great place to put on your page as a way for users to get involved with the code base. It's a little, maybe it's bonus, but we did do an overview for the code base too, just for new contributors, and put them with the main design docs. Cool. And then, oops, go back to slideshow. I only have one more slide. Yeah, and then maintain them. I'm out of time. So that sums up maintenance.
Richard here? Yeah. Hey. Don't need to run. You can be safe.
I was just thinking, I don't know how he's going to let me know. Because I'm not really with it. Is that working? HDMI instead? Duck. It's actually not a duck. Anyone know what this is? The Puteke Teke. Anyone see John Oliver? That's it. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Google that later. All right. This should work. I'm going to talk about eBird C-mounts. Technically, eBird and C-mounts are different. You're right. I just love yelling. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. All right. I'm going to talk about eBird seamounts. eBird is different than seamounts. It's going to be pretty cool. You will know what this island is by the end of this talk. And if you know what it is now. Yeah, saw that coming. All right. eBird is amazing. It's a website where you can log birds, and you can like gamify the logging of birds. It's very addictive. Not a joke. It's a lot of fun. And you can see it's used by many, many, many people, which is really cool. Like over 1 million people are using this to make lists of birds for science. Awesome. You can see birds. Scientists can be like, that bird was seen there. Everybody wins. Used in hundreds and thousands of papers. Not hundreds of, hundreds and. It's really cool. You can also upload media. Here's a seagull, which I saw in New Zealand. I really like it. It's fun. Here's another bird. Now, you may be confused because this is a duck that clearly belongs in Mexico because you all know it's a Muscovy duck. What is it doing on an ice pond? Well, it got out of a barn. And I drove and I saw it, and I was very excited to see it in my county. But then there's this little thing here saying unconfirmed. Huh. Turns out there's a whole host of people who are volunteering on eBird to check people's observations so that you don't log stuff that doesn't belong where it's supposed to be. eBird reviewers also do other stuff. For instance, this bird is a kakariki. It's a red-crowned hybrid with a yellow-crowned parakeet, which is really cool. And this has to be added to the taxonomy because I saw this bird 2 years ago and there was no way for me to log it because of the 10,000 bird species or something, this one just hadn't been added yet because it's really rare. It was also kind of in a zoo, so it doesn't really count. But someone had to confirm it. Still hasn't happened. Since we're talking about Lord Howe Island, this is a checklist that I added from historical data from the 1850s, because that's what I like doing in my spare time. And some reviewer had to go through and check and be like, did this guy do his homework? Why is he adding the Norfolk Islet parakeet, which, as you can see, is also in the Cyanoramphus genus. Super fun. eBird reviewers are amazing and awesome and very cool, and they look like this. Hi. I'm a reviewer for several regions on eBird. I review for Vermont, for one county there, and also these 3 islands, which are so small they're not even on this map. These are the islands I review for: Ascension, St. Helena, and Tristan da Cunha. Any of you have heard of these before? Cool. Some of you may have definitely heard of this one. That's where a short guy with a weird hat died. Napoleon. Actually, it's not a problem that he was short. It's a problem that he was a despot. Here's a map of Tristan da Cunha. Tristan da Cunha, well, this is just Tristan, actually. It's an archipelago. And you'll see all these little dots. What are these? Good question. These are hotspots. Here's a hotspot that used to be right next to my house. So I birded here all of the time. And I have a hobby of going around and adding fun hotspots for local parks. But sometimes I like adding things for cooler birds, like this bird, the Inaccessible Island rail, only found on Inaccessible Island, which is in the archipelago that I'm working on. But there's a problem, because it's very easy to add hotspots on land. But what about for birds like this bird, which is a really beautiful bird that lives in these archipelagos as well? The Tristan albatross. Where does it go? Because the sea is just really big and blue. I have 1 minute. You'll notice all these little mounts. Here's a map of the area of these islands, and you'll see these little names. Those are seamounts. They're islands that didn't quite make it to the top, but they're still really useful for birds. Really awesome study, which you can check out later, shows where birds tend to aggregate. You'll notice it's on the seamounts. So I've been going through cool maps and adding them onto eBird so that people who drive by can go and add birds when they go to those seamounts. Here's some seamounts in Brazil. How cool. And unfortunately, I don't go to those islands, and almost no one does. You see people only go there in April and September. That's okay. I have to wait years to see if my hotspots made any difference. But I hope so, and if you want to help, I Googled during the last talk, and check this out. There's a whole chain of seamounts near Lord Howe Island that haven't been added to eBird. So come talk to me after the class. Thank you. Here's some references. Here's where you can talk to me about birds and literally nothing else. Thanks.
Next up, we have Arty. Next up is Arty Ram Krishna about Be Nice.
Can you hear me? Hi. So I'm Arty Ram Krishna. I am here because I am Shree's wife. But I'm also here because I live and breathe equity. And why should you listen to me? Maybe because I have been a super token my entire career. A super token is somebody who is the very first of their kind, and I am the only Indian educator in Portland. And I'm the only Indian school administrator. So I work on teams that are almost entirely white, and this problem keeps coming up because I was born and raised in India, and my style of communication is maybe just a little different than the white dominant workspaces I work in. So I just want to talk a little bit about what cross-cultural communication is. I know we all know what it is, but I wanted to dive a little deeper into it. You know, when I travel or I'm working in groups that are remote, there's so many gaps in communication, and this is why. So this is one of my favorite graphics to show. It's color-coded by cultural type. So the blue countries are linear, and they're decisive and active. They're cool. They plan. They talk more than the red and yellow countries. They think there's only one right way. They are, the written word is God, and there's a lot of perfectionistic sort of characteristics. The red countries are multi-active. So think warm, emotional, just loves to talk and make friends, and maybe isn't the best planner, but has impulsive ideas that can lead to great decisions. And then the yellow and orange countries are reactive. They still come from a place of emotion, but mostly they want to keep the peace. So their idea of conflict resolution is to shut up and make the problem go away. So when you see all of these colors, and then you imagine these colors within the people we work with, there's little reason why communication can be difficult. And so this is more specific, and if you look at the country I work in, and the country I come from, you see how much I have to mask parts of my identity to be successful at work. And the emotional labor of me being the super token and me needing to fit in so that I can get the job done because I love what I do, it's exhausting. The mental labor of it is absolutely exhausting. And there isn't any one type that's obviously better than the other. We need all of these cultural types within the workplace for us all to come together and just be better at whatever it is we're doing. And of course, there's more factors than these, but interpretation of time and space and nonverbal communication are big ones. And so I just left this on. What is a good way is, begin from an anti-racist lens, ask respectful questions, educate yourself, have a little cultural humility, build self-awareness. How much are you contributing to the problem? And truly, just ask clarifying questions and be flexible. And so, like I was saying, needing to mask parts of yourself all the time, policing your tone, policing your clothes, your hair, is exhausting. And one of the biggest problems with poor cross-cultural communication is that it makes for an absolutely unhealthy work culture. And I can attest to that because the last 3 jobs have sent me to therapy, and no job should do that. And the bigger problem is with remote work and the pandemic. Work culture has already become a little broken. And so this is something that's going to take us far, far from belonging. And I have a talk tomorrow. If you want to know more, come attend the workshop. You won't be bored. Thank you.
Next up, we have Pesha on GNOME's DEI initiative.
Hello. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Pesha B, and today I'm going to talk about the DEI initiative in GNOME. So I'll just give a brief introduction of myself. I started contributing to GNOME about a year ago, 1.5 years ago. I'm a part of the organizing committee for GUADEC and GNOME Asia, and I'm leading the DEI initiative in GNOME. So the DEI initiative was there, but then it was revived in November 2023. We have monthly meetings, and we used the time to narrow down on the vision, mission, and goals. So we decided what our priorities would be, how we want to go with it, and how we want to work on that. We also started a social hour so that we can introduce newcomers to the GNOME community, and also introduce them to the existing contributors of GNOME. So we have the mission and vision document ready, which will be out very, very soon. It's on the QR code. That is where we have explained how we want to go about things and what metrics we'll be using. So you can scan the code. I'll just wait for a minute. Okay. And of course, we'd love to have a lot more volunteers. Currently, we have a few people in the DEI team. We have Christy, we have Asmit, we have Yona, Justin, Rosanna. We all have frequent meetings. We also have a few people who have joined in between, but these are the ones who have really helped us to make the document or put it together. And we have our first in-person DEI meeting on Tuesday at 10 a.m. So I'd love for you all to join so that we can make this as inclusive as possible. So thank you.
That's the end. That's the end of the lightning talks. Maybe we could give another hand to all the speakers. And to wrap us up, we're going to do the conference closing and group photo next.
All right. Unless you have a better suggestion, other people, I don't want to sit here and like mess around with this all day. So I'm just going to have a Pateke Teke in the background, and you're all going to enjoy that. Weirdly, it is so much less nerve-wracking for me to talk about GNOME than about birds. I don't know why that is. Maybe I should figure that out. Thank you for coming to GUADEC. This is the closing talk. This is not the end of the conference. It's just the closing talk for this session. There are BOFs, but I'm so grateful for everyone who has come for GUADEC so far. We can applause now, but we can applause at the end as well. So let's just wait till the end. I have some announcements to make. This is the end of the presentations. If you would like to watch any of the talks again, you can find the videos on the GNOME YouTube channel. Tomorrow and Tuesday are our BOF days. For everyone here in Denver, the BOFs will happen in this building. Please check the schedule for room numbers and BOF details. Everyone online, that means you people. Where is my frickin' mouse? There it is. Okay, this trackpad is broken and it's really hard. Everyone online, you guys. Please note the BOFs will not be live streamed, so check your emails for links and access codes for the remote BOF rooms. Tonight's dinner is in Tivoli, which is very far from here. It's where we had it 2 or 3 nights ago, so it's just like there. They normally open at 6, but because it's an awkward time, they're like, why don't we just open at 5? So basically after this, we can just go over there. I will lead you, and we can do that for a while, which will be fun. The brewery will be open at 5 for us, and dinner will be at 6. If you're attending the baseball game, please make sure to grab your tickets from the registration table before you leave today. Otherwise, there'll be no baseball for you. You will be out. Reminder, we are sending Holly a card. I think that's also Shree's card. Maybe it's a different card. Is it the same card? Same card. Okay, it's also on the table out there. So when you're picking up your tickets, you can sign it. The more people sign it, just the nicer it is. Doesn't cost you anything. Kind of cool. And we'll hand that to Holly as a thanks. Upcoming events, which I'm realizing I could have pressed next this whole time, because that's what I was talking about. Here's some upcoming events. I added Fosse in here. We're not technically co-organizing that, but people will be there, and it's Karen's event, and Karen's on our board. And I just want to thank her for all the stuff she does, even though she wasn't here. I got her room because she wasn't here, so I'm grateful. Linux App Summit, going to be in Monterey. I don't know how to pronounce that correctly, but that'll be awesome. GLOME Latin America and GLOME Asia is going to be in Bangalore. Very excited about this. I'm hoping to make at least one of these. And yeah, I'd love to see you there too. Special thanks to our sponsors. Once again, can we have a massive round of applause for Endless and for Ubuntu? This would not have been possible without them. GNOME in general, they offer so much help, and I'm so grateful. And also, I want to thank all of these people down here. Thank you so much. Red Hat, Rocky Linux, SUSE, Igalia, and CodeThink. You are the best. All right. But the sponsors are great. It's good to have money. It's good to have in-kind donations. It is not as nice as having a community, because that's more important at the end of the day, although they kind of go together, and maybe I just killed our sponsorship forever. But it's fine. I just want to thank all of the organizing team, all of the volunteers, all of the speakers and attendees. Organizing team, can you stand up? You don't have to come up, just stand up. If you are here, someone stood up, that's amazing. You stood up, that's amazing. Please, thank you so much. Thank you. Volunteers, if you want to stand up, you can stand up too. Keep clapping. Volunteers, thank you so much. You're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing. Speakers, how many of you spoke? I spoke. I had a lightning talk. Anyone else speak today or yesterday? Thank you. And everyone else, if you want, you can stand up or you can just sit down. It's fine. Thank you all so much. It was super fun. It was just the best. Luckily, we will have GUADEC 2025. I realized that I memorized something in Italian, and I had it all written down because it's going to be here, but I was so stressed with my eBird thing that I forgot to memorize it again. But it will be in Brescia, and I'm really excited about going to northern Italy. So please come next year, 2025. Yay! And that'll be really awesome. So I'm just really psyched about that. I'm sorry. That's just going to be really cool. Denver is still great. Local organizers. Denver's awesome. Okay. See you all back at the BOFs tomorrow. Everyone in Denver, stick around now for the photos, which I see Dane out there. He's photographing nothing. Like literally, that's what he's doing right now. So he's probably trying to get the light right. So if we could all make our way out those doors, and then to the left, and then to the left again, we can help him cure his existential camera photography problem. So, that way, right now. Thank you, everyone.